If you're on your way to work as the week has begun, you can join us on Facebook or on YouTube. Just look for Clock TV and join in the conversation. Now, next is our motivational quote. So let's prepare our heart to be inspired. Yes, as Christ has risen, we have hope, changes, we make changes in our lives as well. So yes, we're making changes in our motivational quotes, and we have two motivational speakers who are my co-hosts, and they are in the persons of Miss Miriam Abnadede and Mr. Nanayao Asari. Good morning, my lady and gentlemen.
Good morning, Yara. I had to clear my throat.
Yes, you're about to motivate us. So can you take us through what you have for us today? I don't know how you're going to do it, but two motivational speakers. I'm sure this week is going to be top notch. So take us away, please.
Okay, so Nana, you can take us.
So this one is coming from John 14, verse 19. We are starting the week by inspiring ourselves with scripture. It says that because I live, you also will live. And this quote is from Jesus Christ himself, the main man himself. He says that because I live, you also will live.
Yeah.
So Lady Pastor and Reverend, take us away.
Apostle.
So how do we start it? Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Take us to church.
So today God is telling us that because he lives, we also will live. And after resurrection, he appeared to us via many forms. The Bible says that in Acts chapter 1 verse 3, he appeared and he gave infallible proofs until his ascension into heaven.
Yeah.
So this is actually saying that because he lives, he's inspired hope in us, and the tomb is empty. Jesus Christ is arisen, or he's up, and yes, everything that's down in your life will also come up. Jesus' name.
Well, I would just have to talk about the hope and assurance this quote is giving us, because as humans, all we need is hope. If you're a Ghanaian like me, you'd always give up at one point in time. But Jesus Christ is telling us that if he has been able to resurrect, something that took him away from life, like he went away from his people, something that took him down,
so
deep down into the earth, he's telling us that we can also come out from every situation we find ourselves in. People might accuse you falsely for things that you've not done, just like this morning. But Jesus Christ is telling us that you can come out from that situation. Just have hope and then be assured that if he has been able to resurrect, you will also resurrect from every situation you find yourself in.
Wow, that was very beautiful. No, you people want to take money for it, please. That was very, very beautiful. Thank you, my lady, Reverend, and Apostle, for motivating us this morning. I hope your hearts were also inspired. Of course, we are still in a very solemn mood, remembering Christ and his death, his resurrection, and even the ascension. So next is our online and newspaper review. We will be right back.
In a world where neutrality in the civil service is paramount, Ghana finds itself at a crossroad.
It was great, yeah. So great. I mean, some of us, we couldn't go anywhere. We're just in the house and we're watching, statuses and,
you didn't go to church.
You're tempting me to say something.
Nana, please, we are on national television, please. National television. So yes, it was a great experience.
Christ died for our sins, so no lies. We've repented.
So yes, we are starting on a fresh, note, a new leave. We are okay. Like everything is fine. The Easter break was good. It was very restful.
I like that. Some people say it's a midterm for workers. Yes, Nanaya, what about you? How was your Easter?
Very, very solemn, without any display. We were just at home with family. Went to church as well, and so that's just about it. I wore one of my favorite attires.
And you didn't bring it to Koko just for people to also enjoy you.
I'll put it on the social media. On social media. So if you want to check the boy out, you can go there and see.
Just hit him up.
So ladies, your fine gentleman says you can catch him on social media. Take a glimpse of his outfit. So So what's been trending aside? Christ's death, resurrection, and everything. What's happening? Oh, okay.
Kwewu has been trending. It's been in the trends for some time now. Also, the paragliding was the main feature of the Kwewu Easter. We also saw President John Dramani Mahama going there.
He went?
Yeah.
Wow. Did he also paraglide?
We saw videos of he being there. We saw videos of Nana Akufo-Addo also being there. We saw videos of Kufuor, ex-president Kufuor, being there. So Kwewu was like an issue of national security concern over for that period, for the number of people, 3 ex-presidents being there at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was quite a wonderful experience, and I think the Ghana Tourism Authority, just as we spoke to their representative last week, they've done a really good job at it. But now Kwewu has a very beautiful landscape. And there are the land resource over there is very vast.
Yeah.
So looking at the number of people and the traffic that caused, if maybe they can take a cue from this and then maybe expand and then not just the road, but then social amenities over there, schools, hotels, a lot of things. These recreational activities and centers over there. It could be the Beverly Hills of Ghana. Who knows?
Of course. And I think the school is a very good point. I mean, building a very big university or something there where people can go to school there. So it wouldn't just be like occasional. So there's a school there, that's why it's school. And so people can go there just like the UDS at Tamale is doing. Yeah. But aside that, the lands minister has also been trending. I mean, he was captured in a video where he was weeping after watching a documentary showing the destruction of lands and water bodies in the western region by Akonta Mining Company. And I think this story is in my newspaper. I'll touch on that. But that is what has been trending today on X. He's weeping bitterly.
Yeah, I think I saw comments on the fact that we don't need our leaders to be weeping. We need them to take action.
Show action, yeah.
What will weeping do? Is the people who are suffering, directly, they are the ones who are allowed to weep. But you who is in power, you who are here to effect some change, what are you crying about? Do something. You have the funds, you have the resources.
Yeah. So he has actually something. He has revoked the license of the Akonta Mining Company, which is owned by NPP's regional chairman Wuntumi.
Okay.
So I think he has made a bold step.
Well, these things are usually on paper. These things are all paper issues, theory. We're talking about right there, these, like we have the military deployments that they were talking about, calling for. The other day we spoke about the fact that there's a whole community in the forest and the place has been burnt down. These are some of the proactive things that they should be doing. But I mean, one step at a time, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was happy when last week on the business segment, Clement's guest, I've forgotten his name, he made mention of the fact that he wasn't happy with the agricultural sector, like what we've been doing, linking it to mining, I think it has some kind of, effects as well.
It's a big effect on it, so because it's the land, water.
Our leaders need to be proactive. They shouldn't come and tell us what they intend doing. Show us what you've done. That is what we want. I mean, you were in opposition before you came into power. You studied everything, so we want action.
But then that being said, the light should not only be shed on who is in power now. You are all in power regardless, because you are governing us, whether you're in opposition or you are in the other sitting government. So it shouldn't just be that, okay, just this government. Fine, this government says they are a listening government. The opposition is also here to keep them in check. But what are they also doing? Are they only just criticizing and not also taking any actions? Because some of these people are members of parliament for various constituencies that are also affected. So there's that too. So what else is trending? Any entertainment stories? So I think Porial's pitch, lifestyle woman, tell us something.
Tyra, I always say that when it comes to things like this, in Ghanaians, we have money. Business owners are rich people in this Ghana.
It's called investments. They beg.
Tell me why someone will pay 6,000 Ghana cedis for a stand, and the assurance of making more than the 6,000 Ghana cedis is not even there. It's not even guaranteed.
That is how
you sell mash kenke and you pay 6,000 mash kenke.
So I think with the stands there were different levels to it. I don't think each and every one of them.
Some were half, some were full stand.
So so that notwithstanding, Porial's pitch, I'm not into influencing and all that, but last year I made a mistake of
the
hitting,
kind of traffic it's caused.
I was from the La Paz area. I got to Fiesta Royale, and usually, because of traffic, I just use in front of Kufuor's house and then make a U-turn. But this time around, I thought, there's no, and I just went straight in front of Fiesta Royale, and then I spent more than 2 hours from Fiesta Royale to the Accra Mall roundabout, which is less than 3 kilometers. So to tell you the kind of traffic and influence that particular thing got. I also went to see a movie on Saturday. That's when the Porial speech was happening, and the traffic. That I don't know why I end up finding myself in that particular situation all the time. The traffic at the mall from behind, from Spintex, that's Action Chapel, all the way down to Accra Mall. It was massive. So looking at the people that were there, I can say tens and thousands of people,
of course,
trooping in and out. So if you made a deposit for a stand of about 6,000, I'm sure there's at least a guarantee of you breaking even at least, depending on what you're selling as well, of course. And the things that were there, right? I think before they gave the tents or the spaces out, they were actually screened. What are you going to sell? What are you? And almost all the people that sell there too are people who are very active on social media, especially Snapchat, the Snapchat stores. TikTok. When you go on TikTok, and most of them, when they were there, they were live on Snapchat. They were live on TikTok. They were live on social media. So all their buyers and everyone that is on social media will know that when I go here, I'll be able to get this. And I think for 2 years in a row, it's been a success. But one thing that we've not considered or taken care of is security and then the traffic situation over there.
I think, well, not to cut you, but I feel because it's like a private-owned thing, an organization by a private entity, that's why it's being done that way. But a little education for our viewers, if they are wondering what Porial's pitch is. It is a business where all business owners or most business owners come together to sell their products. And it is championed by Dulcie Boateng, who is an influencer. And so that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think we also forgot to mention that this year, she did it in collaboration with Absa Bank.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there was some sponsorship there, so it was bigger. Okay. But then speaking about even breaking even, I realized that a lot of the vendors, like you said, on social media mentioned that their items were on sale at the Porial speech. So for the fact that we the buyers are going to be getting these things at subsidized prices, of course, people are going to troop in. So I think, yes, they will make the money, even if it's mashki, because at that place, it's much like a concert or intercore back in the day, full of people. Mashki is something you need for sustenance if you are going to be roaming about.
Price.
Yes.
Because I heard it was 30 cedis and above.
Last year when I went for Pearl's speech, the place was so hot. Oh, yes, I went to get a few makeup stuff, and the place was really warm. So I wanted a face towel.
How much?
Face towel, 20 cedis.
Wow.
If you won't buy it, be there. So there are people who will take advantage of certain things, like the way when you go for these fairs, water is more expensive than it should be.
Yeah.
There are other people too who would subsidize the prices of their wares. So it varies, and there's a lot of food to eat too, and the food vendors, I'm sure they are the ones who make a lot of money because people will be roaming about. I think people are even selling kingi there. we should try next year. We'll discuss that later. Somebody will steal our idea. So let's go to your digitalized newspapers.
So let me start. As usual, I have with me today's daily graphic, and on the front page of today's daily graphic, we have Mohammed's picture there at Kwewu, and he was, he unveiled visions for the private sector. I don't know if it's going to be displayed. We also have 34 police commanders reshuffled in Galamsey areas, and world mourns Pope Francis. I think he's in our story as well. And Akonta mining license.
He set his eyes on African glory and then World Cup slots. That is at least being guaranteed a place in the semis. The AFCON under-20, that's the national under-20 team, the Black Satellites, will be in Egypt to go through the under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. And they are prepared for it. It's starting April 27th to 18th May. So that's the duration. And then also,
us details on the sports segment. Definitely. Okay, so let's go into the online news, and I'd like to remind you we're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can send your comments or send them to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screen. You can tell us how your Easter went, briefly, and then we'll also read it aloud. If you have any opinions, you can also share them. Miriam wanted to say something.
I wanted you to tell them that on the lifestyle segment we'll be discussing something about love. What would you do for love? You should also send your comments as well.
If you were in love, would you not sleep at home? I'm just saying this. And then sleep at La Paz if you live at Kokwase overnight when you have a show in the morning.
Wow.
I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I mean, there are a lot of things to discuss.
Please, this morning, Jesus has just risen. What are we doing? Okay,
what are you talking about?
I don't know. Let's focus.
Who the cap fits.
Let him wear it. So, the online news. So the very first story here is talking about President Mahama's honoring of the late Pope Francis in a touching tribute. So I think yesterday news came out that we lost the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis. And so it says here, President John Dramani Mahama has paid tribute to Pope Francis, who passed away in the early hours of April 21, 2025 at the Vatican after a brief illness at the age of 88. The president described the Pope's death as a great loss to humanity and the global Catholic community. In a tweet shared hours after the news broke, President Mahama extended condolences on behalf of his family and the people of Ghana to the Roman Catholic Church and Catholics across the country. He recalled a cherished visit to the Vatican with his wife, Lodina Mahama, where they had the honor of meeting the Pope. President Mahama praised Pope Francis for his humility, compassion, and tireless advocacy for the poor and marginalized, saying his legacy of social justice and moral leadership will continue to inspire generations.
So sad.
Yeah.
This is so sad.
So with this, I think it's fair enough for us to recognize some of the achievements of the Pope.
Of course.
And how he's actually blessed the Catholic Church and then the world in general. Pope Francis became the 266th Pope in 2013 till his demise. And he's someone who embodies selflessness, as he's been seen. He's a people's person. Even the Mexican government have actually come out to say that they've lost someone who was maybe sending aid and help to people in Mexico. One fun fact about him was that he had a monthly salary of $32,000.
Wow.
That's what's stipulated for.
Monthly
Salary of $32,000. But he never touched it. He actually always sent it to charity to touch the lives of people who were needy in the Catholic Church and then the people in the Vatican City as well. So he's someone who is very, very selfless, never looked at pleasing his own or settling for his own and all that. And today, the College of Cardinals, who are the ones that are supposed to sit and then plan the succession planning of popes and elect the new pope and all that, they are the ones that are meeting today to plan his funeral. And then after the funeral, maybe a week or so after, then they sit and plan who is going to succeed him. And in his succession, mind you, there are two people that are front runners. There's Luis Antonio Table, who is from Philippines. He's 68 years old, and he's a very fine man as well. He's also part of the College of Cardinals. And then there's a Ghanaian man called Peter Texan.
Wow.
He's also there.
Yes,
I'm sure the pictures should be on your screenshots. Peter Texan, who is also part of the College of Cardinals. And he's also one that is seen as a selfless person. He's one who represents social justice. We've seen him on interviews. They were talking about why the LGBTQ community, why it is unlawful to arrest them. He comes from the social justice point of view and says that even our traditional names, we have traditionally, with time immemorial, we had names for them. They were called a certain way, but then they were not treated in any other way. We don't have records of they being beaten, treated in a certain way. So although we are saying it's morally not right, it's not a crime. That's what he was saying. So he something like that shows that he embodies social justice. Luis Antonio Table, he's also from Philippines. He's also someone who is maybe not as on the social justice side as Peter Texan, but he's also strict on the core values of the Catholic Church and all that. So it remains to be seen who is going to succeed him. But then let us also use this opportunity to say rest in peace, Pope Francis. And he's lived a life, a legacy. And yes, we hope that everything goes on very well.
I was hoping to meet him one day. I mean, I really wanted to see him so that he could bless my life, so that I would also be a blessing to others. But it's unfortunate that we've lost him. Yeah, why do you look at me? So, yeah, but I briefly want to link his death to the leadership of Mahama, because he made mention of the fact that his leadership is committed to morals like justice. He has commitment to moral leadership, and I think our President John Dramani Mahama also exhibits that in his leadership as well. I think President Mahama has been emulating Pope Francis, because when you look at his leadership style, it's just like that of Pope Francis. As he's humble, he has, compassionate on humans, and I think, we'll just leave it here like that.
If we get a comment that
I'm
are
not
you
being,
trying
I'm
to say something? Well, I mean, it is a great loss, and we hope that the next Pope is also able to fill the shoes of his predecessor. Yeah. We have a comment here. It says, "Good morning, Koko Digest. Wonderful team. Rest well, Pope Francis. I hope the next Pope will come from Ghana." This is from Asante in Kumasi. Thank you for your comment. Yes, I'm actually also hoping that the next Pope is the Ghanaian Pope, so that we have our very first Black Pope. The topmost Pope, not just the normal, fathers and things, but this is like a Black Pope. I think it will be another sort of win for Black people, but there are issues around that too. Some people don't think so.
Right now, both Peter Texan and then Kojo Apia Texan and then Luis Antonio Tabli, they are both front runners, but then when you should trickle down the odds, Peter Texan is maybe not so much ahead because his odds are 5 to 11, and then the other one is almost like say
7 to 11.
Probably you can actually say that.
Is it because he's Black?
Not because he's Black. The Catholic Church, I don't know, but it remains to be seen. The College of Cardinals, that's the appointment committee of the Pope.
Yeah.
They'll go and sit down and then they'll talk about issues, and then there are certain maybe instances where maybe you've been on the news for something that does not glorify the Catholic Church. Maybe it's a whole political system that they run before they elect.
I think all I'll say to that is the way, I think it's somewhere in our Bible that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. So maybe even if the odds are against him, God can qualify him.
Of course. So Jesus has risen. Everything is possible.
So I think someone here texts me, that's his name. He says he says, "I love you." Is it one of your...
One of you,
Well,
we love you back. We love you back.
No, he loves the Koko Digest morning.
So we love
you too. So the next story here says, police intercept cross-border ammunition smuggle in Volta region. So the police in the Volta region have intercepted a major consignment of ammunition concealed in a commercial bus heading towards Benin. Now, the operation took place at dawn on Friday, April 18, 2025, during a routine check at the Tajeu Mitrikasa police barrier. Now, a search of the Hyundai bus with registration number GR8246Q revealed 60 cartons of AAA cartridges containing 115,000 rounds, along with 72 cartons of BB cartridges totaling 18,000 rounds. The driver, Abasu Fuseni, 45, and his co-driver, Salisu Jalilu, 38, were arrested at the scene. Both initially denied knowledge of the ammunition. However, preliminary police investigations indicated that the co-driver was responsible for loading the consignment onto the vehicle. Now, in light of this, the driver has been released on bail while the co-driver remains in custody to assist ongoing investigations. So, Ghana is still being used as a hub for possible terrorist attacks, or that's the best I can describe it, because this was heading to Benin, so it was not necessarily here. And then it begs the question that what is happening at our borders? Why is Ghana a conducive route to other countries smuggling these kinds of ammunition?
Because our security system is weak.
They catch you.
I'm being very calculated in saying something about this particular issue, because in this same country there has been the use of even ambulances to perpetrate some of these crimes. The same route, the Volta region route, there was an ambulance that had being filled with Indian hemp and was being transported on that same route, and it was intercepted. There has been a cement tanker mixer that has also been used to perpetrate illegal crimes that has been intercepted.
People are getting really creative with crime.
Yes, so it remains. I don't want to actually mention that because I apply that route almost every December, and I know the kind of security that they put in place over there, and I know the checks that they actually do over there. I don't want to say that for this to happen, then it's not the first time that they are actually doing such
of course
such a crime. When you look at where the things were placed, when you are using that route and you reach the border, they do not check into detail as to how they checked this time around. So it says that there was a tip-off somewhere, and if there was a tip-off, how long has this been continuing? How long has this gone on? Where are the ammunitions coming from? Because you see that Ghana's ports, if anything, Togo has a free port. So a lot of these things is busier than Ghana. So you think that maybe if they are shipping, then it's advisable to ship through that port and all that. These ammunitions, every ammunition has a serial number. Every serial number is attached to the registration of the individuals who purchased it. These ammunitions are not locally made. So since they are not locally made, they are supposed to be traced to individuals. Now, after we've heard this particular news, the individuals that are supposed to be traced, whether it was a government-owned ammunition that's deployed for the military or the police, that has been maybe, some of them have been taken and then being used for these things. Or it is owned by private individuals who actually have the license to actually do these things. It remains to be seen. We are not getting information about all these things. This is where we need the Ghana Police Service to come and assure the public that your safety is
our concern.
Yes, and your safety is assured. We've intercepted these. We are working on this, and that so far the social media police that we used to have, we used to know, informing us, allaying fears and all that. We've not heard them talk about these things anymore. And it is becoming very scary. We know that the police has moved from one regime to another. Is it also a lot of questions are coming this particular time for this? So me, I stand on my ground. The least said about this until some of these institutions that are supposed to protect the integrity of our ports come out to speak, the better.
I think Nana has said it all.
But as you said, it was purchased from somewhere. The tracing needs to also go back to the companies and things like that, because there are always these sorts of conspiracy theories that there are certain people funding terrorist groups and institutions and things like that, and they are the ones who supply these things. And we know that, yes, Ghana is a peaceful country, but it looks as though Ghana is being used as a warehouse or some sort of camping ground for these people. So they don't exactly attack us or anything, but they tend to do their planning and operations here because they may not be tracked.
And I will link this to something I saw online about when someone is tagged as humble, the person has no boundaries, the person is so peaceful that whatever you want to do to the person, you are able to do that. And that's how Ghana is. We are a peaceful country, so we are not known for those kind of things. So every bad thing is being used through Ghana. Like, Ghana is the way. We pave the way for them.
It's a very conducive environment. That's
Sometimes
very true.
we need to be hard. We need to be, hard on these people.
And I'm just hoping that, like you said, the police, the way they seem to have been quite on their toes in the previous government, they should up their game, probably even be better. Because the fact that your IGP has been changed does not mean that the work has become easier or things have softened up. People knowing that maybe John Mahama, like you're saying, humility and everything, they may think that they can get away with a lot of things, because some people may even be party faithfuls or sycophants and foot soldiers trying to perpetrate all kinds of crimes because you're buying their also. And all of these things play a role. We can't just sit and then have our arms folded because you're buying a also, so we can't do, because these are the boys. If we crack down on them, we won't get votes. So it should go beyond that, and then let's do something, because at the end of the day, how long till this place being the alleged hub of some of these activities, how long till we are now victims?
Speaking about IGP, I think the new IGP is also doing so well. It's just that he is not forceful, like, out there like the previous one. We used to hear that you do this, you do that. But I think a combination of the two will help, not the two IGPs, but I mean the character.
Yeah.
According to NRCD 9, 1972, that's the Arms and Ammunition Decree, ammunition, including explosives, firearms, and everything, are supposed to be registered under the Ministry of Interior, under the Ghana Police Service, and even there under Central Firearms Registry. So there is a registry under the Police Service that when you pick up every ammunition, there is a serial number on it. That same Central Firearms Registry gives you the permit to be able to import firearms or maybe to export them. So what has been the role of Central Firearms Registry in this particular one? What has been the role of customs in alerting them? Because if it was very easy to have imported it via that particular port, then they should have been able to check it. Whether So a lot of these things are very confusing.
And that being said, the drivers are not the only ones they should arrest, or they are not the only ones that should bear. At the end of the day, the drivers are really just the messengers.
Yes,
but the owners, who are the owners, who are the recipients?
Yes, exactly. In this particular instance, right, they use the commercial vehicle. So it's as though you've gone to board a circle, VIP, and you know that they load your bags down there, right? So before they load their bags, they have to come and see either the conductor or the driver himself. And this time around, they loaded it in sacks.
There is someone in the bus who could be the one safeguarding these things, taking them through. So then the investigation needs to go on.
If I were to be the person, once I give it to the mate, and I'll just call my recipient that it's in a sack.
Okay, there's also that possibility that it was shipped.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll not even give you my number, but definitely the number of the recipient will be given.
Yeah.
So because that's how they do it.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes when we've ordered for things from
but I still think the passengers too should be questioned. The passengers should be questioned in the sense that it's also possible that there's one person or two people who were in the bus who were related to these ammunitions being shipped. Yes,
because these ammunitions are very expensive. Because even registering a pistol in Ghana.
Yes, getting the pistol first of all is very expensive.
The registration under Central Firearms Registry will not cost you less than 1,000 cedis. That's with them. Before you actually do paperwork at Ministry of Interior and all that.
Yeah.
So before you hold a firearm, you must know that So registration, purchasing, all these things, they are quite expensive. So this is a huge investment that they were actually passing. So as you're saying, we are trying to be forensic investigators over here.
We've been watching CSI.
I'm sure the people or the corporates may be in the bus because of how expensive it is and all that. So the Ghana Police Service shouldn't sleep on this particular matter.
They should be really thorough about this.
And I think there should be a contingent from the Central Firearms Registry at customs, and then in how do you call it, at our ports, so that whenever there's any of these things, then they have to actually see to it that if there's a firearm, if there's an explosive, if there's anything, then they are the ones that are supposed to react or respond to that particular one.
Right. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of the online and newspaper review. I did this with my co-hosts in the persons of Miss Miriam Abnadidi and Mr. Nanaya Asari. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you too. Now, next is a lifestyle segment. Miriam, you were telling us something earlier, so give us a brief overview of what we are to expect on a lifestyle segment.
Of course, I will. So, you know, Jesus Christ died for our sin. He went to that extent to die for you and I. You and I.
Yes, he died very late at night. So
let's today on the lifestyle segment, we want to know, what would you do for love? It's a simple and harmless question. Nana, what would you do for love? I think viewers will want to know, what would you do for love?
Well, it depends. It depends. Well,
let me come to you. What would you do for love?
What will I do for love?
What have you done for love? I think that should be the question.
What have you done
for love? Because you never know the extent to which you can go for someone.
What have you done?
So what have you done before for love?
We have eaten kinky for love.
No.
We will find out.
So let me say mine.
Okay.
What have you done for love?
I've walked, let's say, about 8 kilometers.
Hey, Johnny Walker.
I've walked 8 kilometers for love before. So you two, what have you done for love? Say it. Don't say you've eaten kinky. I've walked 8 kilometers from my place to another place.
I've spoken on phone, throughout midnight.
We will find out.
We will not accept this one.
These people have done for love on the lifestyle segment. So don't go anywhere. Right after this break, Miriam and her guest will be here to share what they've done for love and what the whole conversation is about. Stay tuned.
The Koko Digest Morning Show. It is time to have our lifestyle conversation here on the show. My name is Miriam Abana Adede, and just as we are in the Easter season, you know, it's all about love, it's all about sacrifice, you know, those kind of intimate feelings. This is what we are talking about today on the lifestyle segment. We are coming to ask you, what does love mean to you? Yes, and I have with me our very own, our very, very own Apostle Theophilus Jeffries. But before I introduce him, let me read his credentials. So he's the lead pastor and founder of EFCCI Spinters. He's the president and founder of Accra College of Professional Coaching. He is a certified life coach, your transformational speaker, your success coach, your motivational speaker, your emotionologist, your behaviorologist, your marriage and relationship counselor, your love therapist, your love hygienist, your emotions doctor, your mind specialist, your personal and family financial consultant. That should tell you how heavy Apostle Theophilus Jeffries is, and he's the right person to have the conversation with on the show today. You can get interactive with us by sending in your comments to our WhatsApp number, and also we are streaming live on Facebook and also YouTube. You can send your comments there as well, and we'll read them out. Hello, Apostle.
Hi, Miriam.
Apostle, how are you?
I've been fine, a bit tired, but
I can see that. How was your Easter holidays? Did you spend it with your loved ones?
Of course, once you're a pastor, your sheep, you die for them. So we take after Jesus. So Easter is actually for the people that we serve them. So every pastor loves his flock. So we are always in love.
Okay, let me start off by asking you, what does love mean to you?
Well, to me personally, love means sacrifice. And that's love. But love means several things to several people. But the word love, those 4-letter word, it's a 4-letter word, but it has killed more than it has given life. Okay. Because love is supposed to be life-giving. Like it should give life. But unfortunately, the word love has become the most scariest word in our time now. So people are not too sure when somebody says, I love you. In fact, we all become very suspicious when you hear the word love. So love to me is actually the best gift anybody can give anyone. It's the best gift because God himself, God is love. Okay, so what extent should we go for love just because we love someone? What extent? Okay, so like I said, to me, because love, the ultimate expression of love is sacrifice. Okay. That's the ultimate. So if you're able to sacrifice something. Yes, sacrifice. So anybody who is not willing and ready to sacrifice has not yet entered into the realm of love. So when you talk about sacrifice, do you mean bloodshedding or what? Okay, so sacrifice really means that compromising something dear to you. Okay. So it could be money, it could be time. I should give my boyfriend money. Of course. What's wrong with that? If you give your boyfriend money, it's nothing wrong with that. We the Gen Zs, we don't do that. And so the Gen Z has a lot of misinformation and disinformation concerning what it means to love. For example, a lot of young ladies who are actually in love, they will come and write on social media, once I pay my own house rent, I feed myself, I clothe myself, I'm an independent woman. But ideally, that only makes you a responsible girl. But we are independent. No. That's taking care of yourself, paying your own house rent, driving your own, and all those stuff. How does that make you independent? It makes you responsible. You are responsible for your own life. So that doesn't make you like I'm independent. You see, those ideology created a postulation. Socially, we are supposed to, men are supposed to provide. So if I have a boyfriend and then he's doing that, that's when we feel dependent on that person. If you use the word socially, me, I'll bet to differ. Because socially, you are there to take off yourself. You are your own social responsibility. Okay. Yeah, as to whether a man should take care of you has to do when maybe the man comes and take your hand in marriage. Until a man marries a woman, you are not responsible for her upkeep. Her father is the one responsible. A lot of young men have assumed the role of a husband too early, so they die. The only thing a man owes a girl you are not married to is courtesy, respect, honor, dignity, truthfulness. You owe her those stuff. You don't owe her transport money. You don't owe her money. You don't owe her all those stuff. She must be her father's responsibility. If a girl's father has failed, if your father has failed, why are you expecting another young man to take on the responsibility of your father? Those wrong notions has created a dependence syndrome in a lot of young ladies' mind today when the issue about love comes up. That's why people say that now these days you don't ask a lot of girls if they say, how are you? You don't ask them, how are you? Because the how are you means that I am sick, I am not healthy and all those stuff. Yeah. They use how are you as billing. to build men.
But of course, if I have needs and you ask me, Mimi, how are you? Okay. And I tell you, oh, I'm fine, just that I've not eaten. Yes. It's just that I have, bills to pay.
Yes.
I'm telling you what I'm going through.
So I use the word kindness. If you are my friend, I can be kind to my friend. Okay. I can offer a helping hand. But that is not my duty. See, there's a difference between privilege and responsibility.
Okay.
Some people have taken some privilege as if, for example, sometimes I come from church and then I'm going somewhere and I saw a member and I take you in my car and I take you home. It's a privilege.
Sure.
It's not my. So the next time if I see you and I didn't fake you, say, no, it doesn't want. No.
Yeah.
Women or young men, everybody should be able to decipher between responsibilities and privilege. It's a privilege if your boyfriend is able to help you do some of those stuffs.
Okay, Apostle, hold on there. So we have a few videos of people, telling us the extent to which they will go for love. Let's take a look at that. We'll be right back.
Honestly, I think you have to be in a situation first for you to be able to really answer this question, because we find ourselves in different situations that makes us take some decisions. So saying I'll die for love, I don't think so. Yes, because anything can happen. You shouldn't go that far as to killing yourself because of love.
For the Debbie, another mad so no me would my back for. Now one worry for me, remember worry by 4 until me woman back one to my bonnet. And tell me, Jammy Hona, Omama Cano, Tabacuno, Bacuno, not me worry 3 no canoe. Because back home, me cry and so me. So I need to marry 4 or 6 because me I'm strong.
Love is defined in different way. What sort of life do you mean? What sort of love do you mean? What sort love? We have platonic love, intimate, and others. Which one do you mean? Intimate love. When I die for that intimate lover, she will move on. Oh. Will she also be ready to die for me? And is she also ready to die? Thinking we are doing society good. Why should I die for love? What you meant is, if my love needs something, will I die to get a thing for the person? Depending on the mutual agreement and the way the person is reciprocating. Meanwhile, doing things behind me, yet I don't know.
So love or I get to know. It's hand in hand, like it's reciprocal.
Love is reciprocal and it's mutual. Jesus Christ came to serve a purpose, and one of the purpose is to die for us, we the sinners, and he died for we the sinners.
So you as a
putting myself in the shoe of Jesus, I can't wear that shoe. That shoe is size big. Me, I wear size small. I can't go there. It's just foolish death. I can't even compliment. No, my brain cannot die for what? Love. These days, whereby when the lady pass here, she's doing her own thing. Come and tell you different thing. Come on, let that be things of the past. We are now in 21st century, not Stone Age. Even Stone Age, there were social norms, folks, and rules that govern the love we are talking about. The church, then they say we are Christians. We are Christians. We follow the footsteps of Jesus Christ. When it gets to material things, the Christian will say, I am women right. This is my right. They are forgotten their left. When you get to the 1,001 Muslims and Christians, but traditional believers, you hardly get one. Because if you wrong the gods, they'll kill you or they'll deal with you decisively. Immediately. She hit under to make extra profit. When you get this, the front row. The poor who is serving God from the heart is put somewhere back. Sometimes they don't even get seat. They stand. So the two of them, which one is serving God? The poor. And Kamas and Beldeckham, and others, the philosophers of sociology and social work, they made it that the poor serve God better than. So, if you get it, religion is the opium of society.
Odo. I said, "Oh, what my wife more domo." Say no, what my woman. Na Easter year seminar be Yesu abewaji kwa say en fa born in chain nua ye ndo ye ho me ma unua hye obufo fa nhye wakoma mu nti fa ne say moja na ahwe gu cover asase no so no en fa hu ye bo say fa born fa chain nua no na nyakomo so fa born fa chain wan fa chain ya yentumi nko enim sa na seminity
magboma ha suomo ni min okay min yewo magboma ha suomo kam monsumo bo na eje atwi mi ne keso sane bo wo je atwi no kesumole e wo kagbele po agbo ha le da ke yesu atwa wa akeshi isa no sumo onyami ona ni lemo na esumo na bagbo ha wo isa no wonyese isa no kase boni efio boni yo isa no kase le no wonye egbe no e ka ye mu ndabi wo teme ko me wo sumo wo yi oni najime ko me ni ka usumame no jochu mi do ka usumame amesumo bo she Christian they are church goers as some yalo and J Christian she can Christopher Ojubo no ka onye Yesu say sa no sumo nyemi.
There you have it. Interesting comments coming in. We asked them if they would die for love, and you heard it for yourself. Some said they will not die. Apostle, will you die for love?
Well, it depends on what kind of love we're talking about. For example, equating the love of Jesus to our human love usually is insufficient. But when you read John chapter 3, for God so loved the world that he gave. Yeah. Then 1 John chapter 3 verse 16 also says that just as God laid down his life for us, we are also expected to lay down our life for one another. But then again, because of human behavior and deceit and manipulation and all this stuff, nobody's willing now to go any extra mile for anybody at all. So as for dying for love, I think we have to define what kind of love you want to die for. But the romantic love, the Bible says that love is as strong as death. Okay. That's the point I want to stay here. If anything that is strong like death, then you understand its potency. Because the greatest force on earth that everybody is afraid is death. Death, do you know that death is stronger than life?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, death is stronger. That's how come death can seize life. So you can be alive. Somebody can be alive. When death comes upon you, it can seize your life. So death is the strongest force on earth. But as Christians, we believe in the resurrection. So death is stronger than life, but resurrection is stronger than death.
Okay.
So when you operate in the resurrected life, you are stronger. So if the Bible says that love is as strong as death, that's how come the things people can do for this romantic love. Because romantic love is not just a feeling. Okay. It is a reactions of chemical hormones within our system that create bond. That's how come that before you fall in love, be careful. Because there are 3 stages. The first stage is just desire, which is always the safest. Be in that safe zone where you desire the person either by attraction, their personality, their demeanor, what they do, their achievement, their performance. You desire the person, stay there. But when you move from desire to passion, the second phase, passion, where a lot of hormones are being triggered with you. You want to see the person all the time. You want to be with the person. Your mind is racing with thought, and you have having emotional palpitations, emotional suffocations. That space is not too good for people. That's how you can go to work and the whole day the person is running through your head, and you can send the person a text and say, "Is your leg not paining you because you'll be running through my head the whole day?" A thing like that, you realize that individuals become very, 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 very obsessed. We call that obsessive emotion. So when you have that obsessive emotion towards somebody from the passion stage, you go to the last one, where there's the bonding stage, where you cannot become inseparable. You don't want to leave the person's side. You always want to be with the person. You want to check about the person. See, this romantic love it's not a normal thing. So people should be careful how they deal with it. So if it is that part we're talking about, believe me, people can die for it. And they are dying for it.
We've witnessed that. I mean, the recent KNUST boy who lost his life, he did that because he loved the lady.
Yes. Because, like I said, I've explained the process. The first is desire.
Oh, sorry, Winniba.
Yes.
Yeah.
You desire the person, then you go to passion. The passion stage, you see, I call something the psychology of love and then the biology of love. The biology of love has to do with you meet somebody, you are just gisting, talking. So because of your closeness and your day-to-day communication, affection, all those stuff, you are going to trigger your system, your body system, to react and produce hormones that will create a bonding between the two of you. Once that hormones create that bonding between you and the person, your brain cells, your thought pattern, your feelings are always geared towards the person. You don't even see anybody else. It's the only person you are seeing. And you feel as if you own this person because a part of you has gone to live inside this person. So you feel as if I own you.
So would you say that it's good we don't commit ourselves in relationships?
And well, to be safe, sometimes we ask people that, Charlie, be careful, because it's not a safe thing. Because anybody you fall in love with can kill you. Anybody you fall in love with become your greatest weakness.
Okay.
Yes, your greatest weakness is the person you love. That's how come if they want to even arrest some notorious criminal, they want to go and find the most important person in his life. When you get that person, you get him. So it's not that, okay, don't die for love, or people say I will not die for love. But if you don't protect yourself and you trigger, like, you see, you sleep on an elevator and you make mistake and you sleep, you are going down. So those who kill for love will tell, no, I won't kill for love. No, I will not die for love. I know you will say that. But if you are not careful and you allow these hormonal phases to trigger your system and you flow there, if you get there, you will. Believe you me, have your heart been broken before? If your heart has been broken before, the person that broke your heart, around that space, you can imagine the thought that goes through your head. And imagine the revenge, the retaliation, the things you want to do, the things you can do, the things you can imagine. In fact, if the things people imagine whilst they are in love or being hurt by the person they have deep or nose fall in love with, if they are to allow to exhibit them, you look like a demon.
Yeah, it's true. Let me take a few comments. So someone says, absolutely nothing. I'll do nothing for love because love is calm. Oh, okay. So we have a few. As a broke man like me, what am I doing with love? Never. I don't need love. And we also have this. Who has love ever helped in this life? Love can never help me, so I don't have any feeling for anyone. Okay, so someone also says, love is not real, I beg. Okay, these are interesting comments coming. Someone also said, some people are just pained. Tell them to recover. Love is beautiful.
It's true. The truth of the matter is that the most beautiful thing is love. Have you been loved before?
Are you asking?
Yes. Have you been loved before?
Jesus Christ.
See, there are things you don't chase in life because they are the most important. Number one is love.
Okay.
Everybody yearns to be loved. I have a book like that. The most important things in this life. Everybody wants to be loved and everybody wants to love. So the fact that, oh, love is not true, love is not real, it is real. All those who are talking like that, they have been hurt, they have been wounded, they have been bruised, they are having emotional cancers, emotional bruises, and they have refused to be healed. And if you have been hurt emotionally by somebody you have nose deep falling in love with, believe in me, your soul is not ready to have another affiliation.
So how long should it take for the healing process?
No, it usually takes between 6 months to 1 year. If you go through the healing process, you see, emotional wounds should be treated. Time doesn't heal people. I keep telling people this. They say, oh, just give it time. Time will either make you better or worse.
Okay.
Have you had a cut on you have a physical wound? You say, oh, time will heal it. Time doesn't heal, it is treatment. So you have to treat your emotional wounds. If anybody hurts you emotionally and you are bitter, you are full of resentment, you are full of anger, you are full of hatred, you go into malice. Malice is that ill feeling you feel towards the person. And usually love is manifested through that particular adage where you are feeling negative about the person, but you still like the person because the person hurts you. So people wouldn't say that, oh, I will not die for love. Believe you me again, nobody in their right mind will say, I will die for love. But believe you me, if you are falling in love, you will die.
So we have a question here. Yeah. This is coming from Kwame inside Pokwase, and he's saying, thank you, Mimi, for this insightful discussion. God bless you, Apostle. But I want to know, for someone struggling with self-love, how often should a person seek treatment? Okay, so one of the difficulties in relationship now is individual who came from low self-esteem background. Anybody who is having low self-esteem should not fall in love. Okay. You are not ready for love. You become a baggage. You become a load. You become a liability, because you are going to be expecting your partner to treat you like a nursing person, to come and nurse you. No, I am not coming to date you to come and nurse you. I'm coming to date you to be loved and to love you, not to treat you as my patient. But a person with low self-emotional intelligence, they come in and they become so insecure. They are not confident in themselves. They are not bold in themselves. So you cannot compliment them. In fact, they cannot even be independent. You first have to be a whole figure before you can fall in love. But unfortunately, people are not in love with themselves. Okay. If you don't like yourself, who will like you? If you don't appreciate yourself, who will appreciate you? But some people are always like, oh, let me help you. You will heal. Let me be with you. I'll help. I'll support you emotionally so that you can heal. See, anybody who is not willing to help themselves, you can't help. Okay. There are 4 people you can't help in this life. Okay. The first person is the person who is not ready to help themselves. Okay. So if I am hurting, the healing starts with me, myself, not you. It starts with me. So if I want to help you heal and you are not ready to be healed, how do you get healed? So people should be allowed to get healed by, we trigger you to start the process yourself. So anybody who doesn't love themselves, believe you me, is not ready to love. Yes, you have low self-esteem, you have insecurity issue, you become a problem for your lover. So the first thing is that, hey, love yourself. I wrote a book, the title is 7 Things You Must Not Do If You Fall in Love Again. Number 1, you must never neglect yourself. You must always be there for yourself. You must like yourself first. Look at yourself in the mirror and admire yourself. Okay. Look at yourself in the mirror and feel very confident in yourself. Okay. Look at yourself and walk and say, oh, this is me and this is who I am. I am not where I want to be, but I am work in progress and I will get better. Move on. So people should first develop themselves. First love is the first foundation for romantic love. So for the first 6 months after a breakup, a terrible breakup, I wake up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror, I am strong, I am enough, I am beautiful. You know, these words of affirmation. Yes. I say all these things to myself. Yes. I buy myself things like I surprise myself. Yes. Are these all, you know? They are all part of the process. Okay. Yes. Self-affirmation, self-appraisal, self-appreciation, self-acknowledgement. Okay. You know, you do that for yourself first. And the more you do, you see, sometimes when people say that, oh, it's a fake life, it's not a fake life. Trying to package yourself is not fake. It's just trying to protect and preserve yourself. Okay. So sometimes you have to fake it until it is real. Sometimes I don't feel like telling you I like you, but I got to start saying it until it feels real. Yeah. Do you understand? So most of this, you won't be there initially. Listen to me carefully. When your soul is hurt, your soul can't be happy. That's why the Bible said that my soul praise the Lord. Oh, because situations around you will dampen your soul. So you must speak to your soul. You must command your soul. So when we talk about self-affirmation, it is you speaking to the self within you. Okay. There's somebody inside you that you don't see, that you must talk to. It's called the self. Okay. So the first person you must employ is yourself. The first person you must love is yourself. The first person you must enable is the self within you. So self-affirmation, self-appraisal, self-appreciation, self-admiration. I admire myself a lot. I admire myself. If you look good, this dress looks good on you. You look very, very good. And that's how come when I move out of here, I'm going to listen to myself. How do I sound? Yeah. I give myself self-critique. I praise myself. I said, oh, you did very well. Oh, I didn't know that you were. Sometimes I go to a show, I said, today I'm not in my element. When I go to listen, I said, no, come on, I did very much well. You know, so I'm not waiting for your comment. I'm not waiting for your appraisal. If it comes, praise the Lord. If it does not come, oh, I move on. So first thing is, I love yourself, appraise yourself, honor yourself. It's part of the healing process, but that's not all. Wow. Okay. Kudos, Mimi. Great topic. Very insightful, Apostle. God bless you mindfully. Ekia Dako is my name from Hachu. Thank you so much, Ekia. Apostle, can we consider certain boundaries as a sign of love?
Okay, so one of the most important things you have to do in building a relationship is your ability to set healthy boundaries. I use the word healthy.
I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
You said when you start a relationship, you're supposed to set healthy boundaries, but there are some, I don't know how to describe them. Some guys that when they come into your life, they don't want to respect the boundaries, yet they say they love you.
I don't think it's only guys. There are some other women.
Ladies don't do that.
No. Then maybe then you
ladies don't
be biased here on the show. No, don't bias. I have seen a lot of ladies who are not ethically oriented, who are not courtesy oriented, who break protocols, who violate rules because they feel that I like you or I'm into somebody. Have you been to someone before? You want to break all the rules, and you really want to go by the tenets of relationship that have to cause you to. So it's not only about guys who want to just break the rules. A lot of ladies also want to break the rules. Anybody who really likes you want to break the rules. Okay. You understand that one? So don't just say that, oh, a lot of guys don't want to know. Anybody who is actually not ready to respect your healthy boundary is called obsession. It's not love. We must distinguish between love and obsession. Okay. Please, when you see somebody obsessed over you, accept them. They'll kill you. They'll suffocate you. You lose your freedom. You lose yourself. You can't be yourself. Anybody that you can't be yourself around, it's not love. You are jittery. You are too careful. And you are afraid I will say something. You are walking on eggshells. That's obsession. Where are you? Who are you talking to? That's obsession. So we should distinguish between genuine love and obsession. And it is those who are really obsessed with you. They are the ones who don't respect your boundaries and wouldn't want to even to set any healthy boundary. But boundaries are healthy because you need a me time. See, loneliness and aloneness are different things. Okay. Everybody needs sometime alone time where you are just in your space, where you are just in your element. No disturbance. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be with you, but I need me time, alone time. Healthy boundaries are needed, not just boundary. Because let me add this one: some ladies create some boundaries as if that they are protecting themselves, but unfortunately, most of those boundaries that they have set has become prison walls. That's actually imprison them. Okay. So be careful that when you are setting boundaries to protect yourself, you don't end up imprisoning yourself, and you shield yourself from the world. Nobody is an island. Okay. So don't set boundaries that will so much isolate you from people that you become just the woman or the man alone. It's unhealthy for you, for your own mental health.
We'll be wrapping up shortly. Let me take this last comment and then my last question, and then we'll wrap up. Yes, I side with Apostle. Self-appraisal. Wow. All hail Apostle. I love this topic. You are so knowledgeable, Apostle. This is Mr. Kwame Annan from Kwashiman. Thank you so much for bringing in your comments. Now, Apostle, let me ask you. Yeah. So, how can one tell that this person coming to me truly, truly loves me? Like, briefly.
Well, as for the signs of love, when somebody tells you, I love you, don't believe when you hear it.
We shouldn't believe it.
Don't believe it when you hear it.
Okay.
Because, see, I keep saying that this time we live in, I love you has become one of the greatest scam. So you must not believe it when you hear it. You must only believe it when you see it.
How do we see it?
Not even when you feel it, because people can cause you to feel. See, nice text message, buying you gifts, smiling to you, being courteous, being calmly, being orderly. These are not love. These are just symptoms. It can be learned. Anybody at all can learn to be nice. Anybody at all can learn to be kind. Anybody at all can learn to speak softly.
Have you eaten?
To a lady. Anybody at all can learn all these things. So if you're not too careful, you can mistaken the gifts for the fruit. You know, when the Bible says you shall know them by their fruit. It's not the gift. Somebody speaking in tongues, it's not sure that he loves God. Somebody working miracle, those are gifts, but those are not the fruit. Patience. Endurance. How do this person react when they are not happy with you? How do this person react when they are dull? Anybody you have not seen under 5 conditions, when they are angry, when they are sad, when they are moody, when they are happy, and when they are excited, don't date them. You must make sure that you see people under these 5 conditions before you truly know who truly they are.
Thank you so much, Apostle, for this insightful, education on love. I hope you've learned something from our conversation today. Apostle Theophilus Jeffries was my guest, and he's a life coach. He's an author. He does a lot of counseling, marriage, relationship, everything you need to survive on this earth. Just see Apostle.
I'm flattered. Thank you for your kind words.
You can follow Apostle on all social media platforms, right?
Of course. Yes, so usually I'm more active on Facebook. My content are being placed there more on Facebook. So Apostle Theophilus Jeffries on any other handles, but Facebook is where you can actually see me more.
Okay. Yeah. So you can follow Apostle Theophilus Jeffries on all social media platforms. Today we discussed what would you do for love on the lifestyle segment. My name is Miriam Abna Adede. Up next is the birthday segment. Stay with us.
I heard today was your birthday. Today was your birthday.
And you're welcome back. Now let's quickly take our first birthday celebrant. Okay, so to Ruth, this is from Clement. A happy birthday to you, Ruth. Your kindness, strength, and amazing spirit lights up every room you enter. Grateful to know such a wonderful lady like you. A happy birthday, and be beautiful as may your day be beautiful as you. And this is also to Ebo Smith from Mom. Happy birthday to my amazing son. Today marks the day you brought immense joy and love into my life, and every year since then has been a blessing. I couldn't be prouder of the man you are becoming. A happy birthday to you, Ebo Smith. And this is also to Nana. To my dear son, on your special day, and always remember that you are loved, cherished, and celebrated. You bring so much joy and light into my life, and I feel grateful every single day to be your mom. A happy, glorious birthday to Precious. As we celebrate another year of life, I hope you know that you are loved, appreciated, and cherished. This is from Clement. Okay, so that is all we have. We also have this to Nanayere Na Amankwa Osumpafo the first. Nanayere Na Amankwa Osumpafo the first. Sister Evelyn, a happy birthday. That's especially from you to you. From me to you, actually. A happy birthday. May the good Lord continue to bless you and enlarge your coast. Up next is the sports segment with Nanaya Wasari and Benedict.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the Sports Update segment on Koko Digest Morning Show. Here we bring you nothing but the best in the world of sports, covering all the action, both local and international. I am your host, Benedict Nketiah-Kwarteng. Join me as we dive into the sports arena. Now to the headlines. Kotoko coach resigns amid poor performance. Karim Zito, Dreams FC coach to replace Prosper Ogum at Ashanti Kotoko. Ancelotti nears Real Madrid exits, Brazil job awaits. Serie A games postponed after death of Pope Francis. Now to the main story. Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum is leaving his position as head coach of Ashanti Kotoko. While he led the team to a league title in the 2021-2022 season, recent performance has been inconsistent. The team's performance led to speculation about his future. Despite his commitment to improving the team, the club's leadership has decided to make a change. The departure comes at a crucial time, with the season nearing its end. Ashanti Kotoko will now search for a new coach. The club will soon announce the details of Ogum's departure and the search for a replacement. To the next story. Karim Zito, Dreams FC coach to replace Prosper Ogum at Ashanti Kotoko. Ashanti Kotoko's interim management committee will meet to discuss the technical team's future due to recent poor performances, including 2 consecutive losses. This has led to pressure from fans for head coach Prosper Nate Ogum to leave. Sources indicate the IMC will ask Ogum to step down. Abdul Karim Zito, the coach of Dreams FC, is being considered as replacement. Zito has extensive experience in the Ghana Premier League and was part of Ashanti Kotoko's 1983 CAF Champions League winning team. Now to our international sports news. Ancelotti nears Real Madrid exits, Brazil job awaits. Carlo Ancelotti is reportedly on the verge of leaving his position as Real Madrid's head coach, with the Brazil national team emerging as his most probable destination. The Athletic reported in March that Brazil is keen on Ancelotti to lead their team into the 2026 World Cup. Ancelotti's preference is to join Brazil, who are searching for a new head coach following the sacking of Dorival Jr. The Brazilian Football Confederation views Ancelotti as a top candidate. Brazil aims to appoint a new head coach before the next international break. Now to the next international news. Serie A games postponed after death of Pope Francis. Following the death of Pope Francis, 4 Serie A matches, namely Torino versus Udinese, Cagliari versus Fiorentina, Genoa versus Lazio, and Parma versus Juventus, scheduled for Easter Monday, has been postponed and will now be played on Wednesday, April 23rd. Pope Francis, a known football fan and supporter of San Lorenzo, passed away at the age of 88. And that is it for sports segments. My name is Benedict Nketiah-Kwarteng. Next is the business segment with Clement.
Good morning, welcome to the Business Update segment. I am Clemente Abankwe. Now on to our stories, beginning with Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Ampemiako has indicated that the government plans to engage transport operators to reduce fares In response to falling fuel prices, he noted that such a move could contribute positively to the ongoing efforts to reduce inflation. He explained that with fuel prices decreasing, the government sees an opportunity to work with transport operators to lower lorry fares, which would support the broader goal of stabilizing the economy. In our next story, the government experienced a slight undersubscription in its recent Treasury bills auction as demand for short-term instruments remained relatively low. According to data from Bank of Ghana, the auction makes its target by 2.45%. The government aimed to raise 6.607 billion Ghana cedis, but secured 6.44 billion Ghana cedis, accepting only 4.63 billion Ghana cedis worth of bids after rejecting 1.814 billion Ghana cedis.
The 91-day bill attracted the highest interest with 5.058 billion Ghana cedis in bids, accounting for over 78% of the total. However, only 3.67 billion Ghana cedis was accepted. For the 182-day bill, 905 million Ghana cedis was tendered, and 630.45 million Ghana cedis was accepted. The 364-day bill saw slightly over 481 million Ghana cedis in bids, out of which 324.56 million Ghana cedis was accepted. Meanwhile, interest rates remained relatively stable. The 91-day bill held steady at 15.45%. The 182-day bill dipped slightly to 16.18% from 16.21%, and the 364-day bill declined by 3 basis points to 18.62%.
In our last story, Foreign Affairs Minister Honorable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has assured that efforts towards creating a common currency and central bank for ECOWAS are still ongoing. He encouraged citizens of member states to remain hopeful, noting that the vision has not been abandoned. This initiative, which has been in development for over a decade, aims to boost trade and remove economic barriers within the sub-region through the introduction of the EOCO currency, intended to rival global currencies like the euro and United States dollar.
Ablakwa explained that the main hurdle has been creating a unified platform for economic alignment, but added that the foundation has already been laid and there is strong political support to see it through. These remarks come as ECOWAS prepares to begin its year-long 50th anniversary celebration in Accra. From April 21 to 26, heads of state will gather to launch the ECOWAS at 50 festivities and unveil a commemorative logo. As part of the celebration, leaders would hold meetings to discuss regional issues, including the political situations in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Foreign Affairs and Finance Ministers will also meet to explore ways to deepen economic cooperation and push forward the agenda for a common currency and other shared institutions. Ablakwa expressed confidence that in the near future, ECOWAS will have a shared currency, central bank, standby force, and institutions to drive full regional integration.
That's all we have for you on Business Update segments. I am Clemency Abankwe. Do enjoy the rest of the show.
Welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the Koko Digest Morning Show, and we're about to have our main discussion. Don't forget, you can send in your questions and your comments to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screen or onto YouTube and Facebook live stream, and we'll read them out loud. And when the phone lines are opened, I will do well to inform you so you can call and ask all your pressing questions. Now, today's conversation is going to be about climate change and its impact on our health and our water bodies, specifically these two main angles. And we're doing this with a professor in geography and resource development. He's in the person of Professor Gerald A.B. Yuran, and I'm going to read a little bit of his profile. It's quite, rich. So, Professor Gerald is a geodetic engineer and a geographer who has over 10 years of professional experience. He has an excellent knowledge of remote sensing and GIS applications and climate change, vulnerability and adaptation analysis. Now, he has assessed land degradation in the Boku East District of Ghana in 2007 and 2008, using the combination of remote sensing, community-based approaches. Now, he's also a member of the team that drafted the National Climate Change Policy Strategy focus area on migration, and he participated in the investigation of the impact of urbanization and climate change on agriculture in Tamale. He performed the spatial analysis of land use and change and other GIS-related works for the project. Now, he similarly participated in the Seeker Africa project, a climate and ecosystems change assessment project, where he was in charge of the analysis of land use changes and performed other GIS operations. He has also done some studies on health, notably a study on Buruli ulcer using GIS and a study on COVID-19 infections in Ghana. He is an activity-led leading research in indigenous knowledge systems in climate resilience and a climate resilience and sustainability collaborative funded by the MasterCard Foundation. He has also researched on climate change and mobility in urban Accra, which is called the Climb Access, and is also a collaborative research between the University of Ghana, CSIR, and the University of Copenhagen, sponsored by Danida. So let's get acquainted with our professor. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Your profile is quite rich, I must say. I mean, it gives you it makes us understand the professor quite well. So now let's get into the conversation. What is climate change all about?
Well, climate change is the changes in our weather patterns over a long period of time. We say a long period of time because we have day-to-day changes or seasonal changes. Yeah. Those are normally what we call climate variability. But when we say climate change, we measure it over a long period of time, which we usually use 30 years as a benchmark. So you measure the changes over 30-year period, and if there is a shift in the pattern of what you are looking at, whether it's temperature, whether it is rainfall, windstorms, and all those things, then you say the climate has changed. Okay,
so I'm sure a lot of our viewers have been hearing about global warming. Does global warming have anything to do with climate change?
Yes, global warming is simply the changes in temperature over that long period of time, because it is the temperature that is rising that leads to the warming of the environment or the atmosphere. Because when the environment is warm or the atmosphere is warm, it impacts what is on the surface of the earth.
So global warming is just an aspect of climate change. Okay. So what are some of the causes of climate change? Because in Ghana, some people have been saying there's no ozone layer anymore. The weather is so hot. The sun shines on us directly. So what are some of these causes?
The causes, we have the natural causes, which that one we human beings cannot do anything about. And then we have the human causes. The human causes are largely due to the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And we do this either by burning some fuels through our industries, through the use of vehicles, aeroplanes, all those things. We burn and then we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. We also, through the dumping of our waste, we also release what we call methane into the atmosphere. So these gases they absorb heat. So the heat that is supposed to, that comes from the solar system, hit this, and it's reflected back. When it gets into the atmosphere, these gases absorb it and retain it in the atmosphere, leading to the global warming, and that in effect affects so many aspects of the weather.
You mentioned that there are natural causes of climate change. So can you shed some light on that? Why does the Earth have to change climate?
Well, let me use an example. When there's a volcanic eruption, there is a release of heat into the atmosphere, and that changes the weather patterns. Also, it releases some ashes, which also contain these gases that I've just talked about. That also causes the weather to change. So there are so many natural events that are happening that also contributes to the warming.
So I'm sure with conversations around climate change, there have been some bits of information. I've been seeing something, greenhouse effect. What is greenhouse effect?
I've explained it in a way. Right? But it is the greenhouse is just the carbon dioxide or those greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere that are trapping the heat that is supposed to escape, not allowing it to escape and to stay in the atmosphere, warming the environment. So that is what we mean by greenhouse effect. So they block the heat from escaping.
So what are some of these effects of the heat being trapped in our atmosphere?
The heat in the atmosphere leads to so many things. It can cause our temperature to rise. It can also lead to changes in rainfall patterns. Either there's too much rainfall due to the heat, or there's too little rainfall. So there are so many aspects of it. Can also even cause air pollution and all that. So there are so many effects of the
so let's come let's come to the water issue. So here it seems because of climate change there seems to be some sort of water scarcity. How true is that?
Well, it's true, because when there's changes in temperature, which leads to maybe so much, how do we get water in the first place? Is the water that is on the surface of the earth that gets heated, then it turns into vapor, rises into the atmosphere, then it cools down and comes back again as rainfall, which we get the water. So that is how our water is cycling. Now, when there's too much heat in the atmosphere, the water that goes in there might not cool, and if it doesn't, then it will not come back as rain. And that will mean that the water that is already in the surface of the earth is all going, but not very little is coming back. And that will lead to drying up of certain water bodies, or groundwater also not getting the enough rainfall to recharge And that is what can cause water scarcity.
Okay. So how is it affecting the availability of water in certain regions in Ghana, especially the ones that depend on rain?
Yeah, so if, for instance, there is supposed to be rain this month, and there's no rainfall this month, it means that the water that is available there will not be enough to do anything that is going to be done with water. So if you take northern part of Ghana, for instance, they depend only on one cycle of rainfall. So if that cycle of rainfall, the water comes maybe within 2 months, you have rain. Then the rest of the 12 months, there's no rain. Then definitely that water is going to run out. Because the human beings will depend on what is there for a longer period of time, waiting for the next rainfall to come. Now, even if that 2 months, within that 2 months period, it comes too much, okay, then they are not, the water bodies that are supposed to soak that water is not able to contain it. Then it leads to flooding. Okay. And the water, if they had other things, they could have harvested that water for a bit of time, but if they don't have, then all that water floods and runs away. So there are so many ways that the water coming from the rainfall can cause and lead to water scarcity.
Okay, so speaking on the rainfall again, is climate change the reason why it seems that now we are not very sure of our rainy season and our dry season anymore?
It is a major factor, because it is the research has shown that climate change is causing those shifts in patterns of rainfall. You are not able to tell. Sometimes even you can feel in your body that today it might rain, but it doesn't. So climate change is a major factor in that respect. So it causes, as I said, if there's too much or too little water in the atmosphere, it cannot come back as rain.
Okay. Can you shed some light on the rainfall patterns in the past few years?
Well, in the past few years, I can't tell with numbers, but what I know is that in certain parts of like last year, for instance, in the northern part of the country didn't get enough rainfall as it's supposed to. And it didn't affect the entire northern part. Certain pockets had more rainfall than others. Okay, but in generality, majority of the areas did not get the rainfall, and therefore that led to a reduction in agriculture or crop production, because so many areas at the time that they needed the rainfall, it didn't come. So that is what happened. So over the past few years, there are certain times of the year that maybe you will be expecting that it would have rained, or this is the time that we get so much rain, and then that particular month comes and you don't have
rain. Okay. So is it that there's something the people in the northern part of Ghana are doing that's influencing that, or maybe it's coming from the southern part of Ghana? Is it something that Ghanaians are doing that's causing the rainfall to reduce?
Well, it is not. The climate doesn't have boundaries.
Okay.
Because something that is global. Okay, so even though there's research has shown that Africa, we do very little when it comes to global warming, but we are the people much affected. Okay, we are the people suffering. So it's done somewhere, but it doesn't have. You cannot say that you cannot give visa to climate change and say, okay, don't go to this particular. So it is not necessarily the northern part of the country or the southern part of the country doing something, but it is the entirety of what is happening over the world, all over the world. So it is something that you can't limit it to a particular group of people.
Okay.
But so, in Ghana, we do things that contribute.
Okay, like what? So that our viewers will be mindful.
Yes. Recently, the topical issues is what galamsey. What is galamsey doing? It is destroying
water bodies.
Not the water bodies. It's destroying the forest.
Yes. Okay.
Now the trees absorb carbon dioxide and use that carbon dioxide to produce their fruits. Okay, their foods. Now, when the trees are not there and the carbon dioxide goes into the atmosphere, it stays.
Yeah.
But when the trees are there, they will have absorbed that carbon dioxide and then they'll keep it. Either it stays in their leaves and when they fall, or they use it to produce
photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, exactly. So,
okay.
So we are cutting down our trees, and in that respect, we are allowing the carbon dioxide to stay in the
So
atmosphere.
in essence, if we put more effort into planting more trees, we are likely to be able to mitigate some of the effects of climate change in our side of the country or in the world.
Well, we can, if the whole world decides to do things that will reduce the quantity of carbon dioxide, and that is what the climate enthusiasts have been preaching, that we should try as much as possible to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide we release into the atmosphere, so that all other things that the rising temperatures affect would reduce.
Okay.
So if Ghana, we do that and others are not doing, then it is not going to help. But what they are doing to encourage tree planting is that we have what we call carbon credits.
Okay.
So if Ghana, we are able to do that and we are able to reduce and we have positive credits, we can sell it and make money for the country.
Because I think the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources started an initiative like that, planting and things like. So are you still saying that if, let's say, the whole of Ghana, we decide to plant more trees, because I think somewhere Axim is known for most rainfalls because they have more forests and things like that. If we plant more trees and now everywhere is full of trees and things like that, is it not likely that maybe the temperatures here would reduce?
Definitely, it can reduce temperature.
Okay.
Because the trees also, the thing that reduces temperature is water in the atmosphere.
Okay.
In a way, even though water in the atmosphere can also increase temperature, but it moderates what is around us. Now that the trees transpire, so they also, in a way, moderate temperature. So if you look at in the day when you are feeling very hot, where do you go to?
Under
you go
a
and
tree.
sit under a tree. It's because the tree is able to moderate the temperature a bit for you. So trees, if you plant more trees, they can have that effect because they will also absorb the carbon dioxide that we are releasing, and if they absorb that carbon dioxide, then the temperature around us can come down a bit.
Okay. So earlier you mentioned that there are certain places in the northern part of Ghana that did not get as much rain as others. So does that mean that there are places in Ghana that are undergoing a lot of stress when it comes to water?
As for that, the stress almost everywhere, depending on what you mean by stress, whether it is too much of it or too little of it. Yes. So the northern part of Ghana, we all know, because they all fall within the same rainfall regime. It's just that because of climate change, sometimes maybe some places may receive very little as compared to others. And generally, as you move up, the quantity of water that rainfall reduces. Okay, so those who are at the extreme end receive very little as compared to those as you come down to the coast, because all the water we get is the water from the sea that moves inland. That leads to what the rainfall. So if there's something that takes the water from the sea not to go so much into the country, then we don't have rainfall.
Okay.
But to your question about water scarcity, there are so many factors that can contribute to that. The geology of the area can contribute to some areas having little water than others. Because if you are at a place that cannot store, the geology is such that it cannot store water underground, then you are not going to have, you may even dig deep down and you wouldn't get water. So in such cases, you cannot construct a borehole. So once you can construct a borehole, you can get water. Some places too, it's rocky, so you can't drill inside, so you can't get water. So sometimes it's not only the climate, but also other natural factors can.
So I think we've been hearing that in the northern part of the country is more of a savanna region. Is that also a factor? Like, is it almost like a desert area?
It's not closer to a desert. The savanna has some trees, some grasses that are, even though it's linked to climate, because the zonation of up to the desert is all linked to rainfall. Okay, because the trees and the grasses and all those things depend on water. If there's no water, they can't survive. Just like we human beings also, if there's no water, we can't survive. So the rainfall, the amount of rainfall that a particular area receives contributes to the diversity or the tree stock that are there. So if you look at Accra here, because they receive very little, the trees here are not as tall or are not as many as if you move into the eastern region because of the quantity of rains that we are getting.
So we have some images being displayed. So is this what some places in Ghana looks like at the moment?
Well, no.
Okay. What about, so this image, is this what the savanna tends to look like?
This, it is not how the savanna tends to look. It is where there's no water.
When there's no water, okay.
When there's no rainfall, then you can get things like that. But the savanna is not like this as it's
So in the northern part of Ghana, if we are to decide to plant more trees there, is it likely to reduce the issue of water scarcity?
Not necessarily. As I said, the water availability depends on the recharge. And the recharge largely comes from rainfall. Either it falls and collects in the rivers, or it seeps into the ground to recharge the groundwater. But if we plant trees and that can increase rainfall patterns in there, then it can increase water availability.
So, what are some of the implications of this water scarcity on food supply?
Water on food supply is, it has to relate to food production. When there is no water, agriculture cannot take place. We cannot produce food. So when there is scarcity of water, then one of the pictures that you showed were crops that had withered because of no water. That meant that there was a drought. So once there's a drought, then the crops will die. And that is what normally happens in northern Ghana. Sometimes the farmers will plant and say it has rained today heavily, and they feel that, okay, the soil contains enough moisture, they plant. Then after 2-3 weeks or even months, it doesn't come. All those crops would die. Then when it comes again, they go and plant. So up to some point, depending on what you can have, if you exhaust your seeds and you don't have money to buy, you cannot farm that particular season. And also, the crops that we grow, they depend on some number of months to be able to produce, or when you grow them, it takes some number of months for them to produce the fruits or the seeds. Now, if the rainfall say it falls within this month, then after that, the rest of the 2 or 3 months, no rainfall, they will not be able to do anything. So that is where the water affects food production. So it can affect the quantity of food that you produce. It can also affect the quality of food that you produce.
Okay, so does this play a role in the fact that Ghana tends to import a lot of foodstuff from other countries? Because I think we import tomatoes from Burkina Faso. So is this something that contributes to that?
If that was the case, then we wouldn't even go to Burkina Faso to import, because
they are also in the same region,
and even having less rainfall than us. So, but it's all about agricultural activities.
Okay.
Maybe their government have more interest in agriculture than us, and or is putting more effort in the agriculture sector than us. Some of the things that I hear about our traders going to Burkina Faso have to do with the quality of the produce, because we also produce tomatoes within certain parts of the country, especially in northern Ghana. They do also do, but they complain about the variety, which is not, which doesn't last long and all that. So if we go into research to make sure that our tomatoes also can last longer in the shelf, then it can lead to our farm, it can reduce the imports of tomatoes. And also making sure that there is water by constructing a lot of dams, which our farmers can use to farm. Because in Burkina Faso now, that's what they have done. They have smaller dams that they are using for tomatoes production.
Okay, so can you touch on how the variability of the rainfall patterns has affected the agriculture sector?
It has affected largely in terms of food production, because that is what we are talking about. If we take what happened last year, for instance, in northern Ghana, it affected crop production, yam, maize, and all that. So all that affects this. And when it comes to animal production, it also affects the animals, the way they reproduce, the way they lay eggs, and all those things. Weather patterns affect them. If there's no water for the animals to drink, they will die. Okay, and when they die, then the farmers don't have the animals to sell and all that. So it affects across crops and also the animal production.
So would you say that over the past few years, production has dropped or has rather increased?
I don't have the statistics, but when we look at it through how much we are told, what do you call it, we import foods, that can be a signal to tell us that our agricultural productivity is declining. But I don't have core statistics, as I said now, to be able to...
Okay, so we have a comment here. This one says, good morning, Prof. Yuran. This morning, my big brother is impacting knowledge about climate change. He should get time and move to northern Ghana to educate our citizens there. He should be resourced well to educate us about climate change, especially in the northern Ghana. Thanks to you, Prof. This is from Benjamin Badifina from Dangote Cement, Ghana. Thank you for your comment. And yes, as you can see, people have started sending in their comments, so you can do well to send yours to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screen, or you can send it to our YouTube and Facebook live stream. We will do well to read them out loud. And when the phone lines are opened, I will also alert you so you can call and ask your questions about climate change. So, Prof, let's go to some of our water management strategies. What are some of the management strategies that are being employed at the moment?
In Ghana, we construct small dams, especially in northern Ghana and certain parts of the country. We construct small dams, and the essence is to trap as much as possible water so that farmers can use it for irrigation or they can use it to provide water for the animals to drink.
Okay.
So we construct those dams. We also have boreholes that we use to extract water for either drinking or for irrigation and all that. So these are some of the things. Now what is happening is that farmers are being trained as to how to target even irrigation.
Okay.
So instead of flooding, if the crops don't need flooding the area, you can target the crop roots where they are so that you don't waste the water.
Okay.
They are also trained as to sometimes to water them in the evening instead of daytime, so that the water can stay in the ground for a bit longer period. So all these things are management practices that we are using. We are also planting. I don't know if we, but if you go to most of the dam areas, there are trees that are planted around them. That is to make sure that we create certain buffers, so that when there's erosion coming, those can block the soil a bit, so that very little soil can go into the water.
Okay.
So because when soil goes into the water, it's dumped in there, it fills up the distance. Then when it rains, the water body can no longer take the quantity of water that it was supposed to take. So if we are able to reduce the amount of sediments going into the water bodies, then we are able to manage or contain the water there for whatever purpose we were supposed to use it for.
Okay, thank you very much. It's time for a quick break, and I'm sure you're learning something. So call a friend to tune in and, of course, learn something and send your comments and questions to us. Or when the phone lines are open, you can call and ask your questions. But right now, we're going for a quick break. When we come back, we will continue the conversation on climate change and its impact on our water bodies and our health. We will be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Koko Digest Morning. If you're just tuning in, this is the Koko Digest Morning Show. We're having our main discussion on climate change and its impacts on our health and water bodies. So I'm doing this with Professor Gerald A.B. Yuran, and he is a professor of geography and resource development. So let's continue. Pick up where we left off. We're talking about water management strategies. I don't know whether we should go into the Ramsar sites and then come back to because I've heard that it seems now the climate change is affecting our Ramsar sites in Ghana. So if you can tell us what Ramsar sites are and how they are affected by climate change.
Well, Ramsar sites are sites that have been declared by the international bodies as a site that is an eco-sensitive site that needs to be preserved or protected. So if you take, we have the Sakumo Ramsar site, and then the Pambros, the one at Malan Junction area. These are places that there are a lot of either plants or animals that we think needs to be protected. So they declare them so that those areas, no human activity takes place in those areas, and they are preserved for.
Okay, so I think we have a question here. This one says, good morning, Koko Digest. I want to ask, how can developing countries like Ghana balance economic growth with climate action, especially when they contribute less to global emissions but face some of the worst effects? This is from GD.
Yeah, we have to do our part. We cannot say because we contribute less, we can't do. If we plant trees, we can reduce the quantity of carbon dioxide that we would generate. At some point, some time ago, we were told that we are almost like a net producer of carbon dioxide. So we have to be able to work towards reversing that. And as I said, if we are able to do that, we can sell the
carbon credits
to those carbon markets, and then we get more money to offset some of the development challenges that we have.
Okay, so with the economic growth, then how are we going to be able to balance it?
For industrialization, we definitely will want to continue to to move in that direction. We cannot say we can't industrialize, because if we don't, we cannot create job opportunities for. But there are certain things that we can do to minimize the effect of that industrialization.
Okay, so back to the water management strategy. So what are some of the techniques like rain harvesting that have improved irrigation over the years?
Yes, so we have, as I said, the construction of the dams is to harvest the rain. But in urban areas, which have not seen much in urban areas, we could also harvest the rain from our roofs and use that for irrigation purposes. Currently, we are not doing much in that area, and that is a challenge. So those who are doing urban agriculture, if we had a way of harvesting that water, they could also rely on that instead of using what is coming from the drains to listen. But largely our rain harvesting is the construction of the small dams that we have.
So how effective would you say these strategies are?
For agriculture, they are effective because most of them are used for irrigation. The tomatoes, the onions, and all that, they are using these smaller dams to produce those. Some onion producers also use groundwater.
Okay.
They take a well and then they fetch from the well to water the crops, and then when they mature, they harvest. So when you go to Boku, for instance, the onions, most of them are using groundwater to water. Some use the rivers or streams that are close by to also water. So that is how we use it in our in our country.
Okay. So are there any policy frameworks that are aimed at helping with these water management strategies?
Yes. When you go into the various ministries or departments that deal with water, they have policies.
Okay.
So if you take the Ministry of Water
and Sanitation,
is it water and sanitation,
yeah,
water resources and something. They have, because of the recent realignment, I don't know where.
The new names, yes.
Yes. So we have a policy that deals with water. When you can go to agriculture, they also have policies that deal with water. When you go to environment, they have policies that deal with. When you go to Ghana Water Company, they also have some policies. So they are dotted across.
Okay.
And all that.
Would you say these policies are effectively working?
Well, for effectively working, it depends on what parameters we are looking at.
Yeah.
For example, when it comes to agriculture, they are working towards creating more dams so that we can harvest more water for irrigation.
Okay.
They are also working towards using groundwater, because recently we went to northern Ghana, and there's some part of northeast that they are using groundwater because they cannot get surface water around those areas. So they are using groundwater for irrigation. So there are different ways that we are managing the waters. But most often is, when we talk about water management, our focus is more on the water for drinking and the water for irrigation.
Yeah. So this water issue has brought my mind to acid rain. What is it? What is acid rain? How does it come about?
Acid rain is rain that has dissolved some gases in the atmosphere, and then when it falls down, when those gases are dissolved, then the pH of the water reduces, then it becomes like acidic. So that is what we call acid rain. So it is the dissolution of gaseous elements in the atmosphere that comes with
So
the
has there been an instance where we've had acid rain in Ghana?
Well, we haven't had a specific rain that we call acid rain, but there are certain people living in certain areas, they tell them not to harvest rainfall because they believe that those areas, the water will have some, especially those on the East Legon side where the aeroplanes are flying, because the aeroplane releases some gases, and those gases, when the rainfall is coming, it comes with them, it dissolves them and brings them down.
So what are some of the effects of acid rain on our crops and irrigation in general? Is it like, would it become something like Galamsey, where after some time certain elements of lead or gold will be found in our crops?
Well, it depends on which of the gases are dissolved in the rain. Some of them may be good for the crops, some may not be good for the crops. Certain crops also like acid areas. There are some crops that do well in acidic areas. For instance, if you take coconut, coconut is able to survive around the coast because of it's able to withstand acidity in the soil. So depending on the type of crop, they are able to manage and survive in areas like that. So,
okay. So how can traditional knowledge systems and local community practices integrate this modern water management strategy?
Yes, as I said, if we take what I observed in northern Ghana, they have the jerry can sort of thing that they use to water the crops. So they will go and fetch and fill the jerry can, then they will be just going, then it's sprouting. Now, through the scientific, we now have what we call drip irrigation. So it's a pipe that you lay across, then the water just comes out at where you want it to come, where the crops are. So the water just drops along where the crops are, but it doesn't spread across. So in that case, if farmers are trained, together with what they know, they are able to listen. Some of them also know what time of the day they need to irrigate their crops through their experience and all that they have lived in there. So they are able to blend these things with the modern technologies that are coming, and they use that to improve their water management strategies.
Okay, so we have a question here. This one is saying, hello, Koko Digest. Good morning. Interesting discussion, Professor Yoran. God bless you. To my question, what role do you think geography plays in understanding the health impacts of climate change in Ghana? This is Daniel Asante from Alajo.
Yes, geography plays a big role in understanding health and also even the impact of climate on health. Because we have an aspect called medical geography.
Okay.
So we look at how diseases occur across the globe. So, and how they vary. Because when you come to Africa, we talk, or certain parts of Africa, we talk about malaria. You go to other parts of the world, you don't have malaria.
Yeah.
Okay. So these effects, why is it that something is happening here and it is not happening at another place? Why is that when it rains, then we have cholera in certain areas, but we don't have cholera in other areas? So geographers try to study these spatial variations in relation to health, and then so that when government wants to intervene, bring interventions, they target the interventions. They don't just come up and say, let's do this in a vacuum, and they will go and put something in another area that doesn't need that particular kind of intervention.
All right. So briefly, can you tell us a little bit about your time in the Boku East District of Ghana back in 2007, 2008? The work you did there, if you can give us a little
there we were looking at the issues that have to do with land, the changes in the land over a period of time. So we try to ask the farmers whether they understand that their land is changing and what are the things that they use to see that their land is changing. So one, they talk about low soil fertility, which is what we call soil degradation. Then one, they talk about changes in the weather patterns. Then one, they talk about water scarcity and all these things. So, and then you ask them, how do they know that these things? So they tell you if it is soil degradation. I used to, when my crops these days, when I grew them, if I don't put fertilizer, they won't grow as expected. So they are able to tell you from their experience as farmers what they see, and they think that that is changes in the land that they are experiencing.
So that being said, did they have any sort of myths or misconceptions about why these changes are occurring? Maybe wrath of the gods or something?
Well, at the end of the day, they would say that probably maybe they have wronged their gods or something, because they are Ghanaians, we are all religious.
Yeah.
You belong to one religion or the other. So they also would have that belief that probably they are no longer doing the things they used to do.
Okay.
Because there are some parts of the northern Ghana that people believe they could call rain. Okay? But these days, are they able to do that? Why is it that they are not able to call rain? Okay, they could do some sacrifices and then it will rain. But are they able to do that now? So definitely they will have that kind of belief that we did something wrong, that the gods are not happy with us.
Okay.
And that is what. But over the time too, they get to understand that it might not be anything, but it's because they continually, because those days they could leave the land to rest.
Yeah.
For maybe 2-3 years, then they come back. But these days, because of the numbers, almost every small place has to be used, and they use it every day or every year, and that leads to the changes that they are observing.
Okay.
So they also get to understand that the land doesn't rest.
So were you also able to educate them on climate change and its impacts?
That we do from different angles.
Okay.
Okay. Whilst you are there, you also remind them of certain things, and also you whatever we do, and we come up with certain things. We go and do workshops.
Okay.
Okay. Then we tell them what we have found and all that. Then also you go through the Ministry of Agri to use their extension agents, also disseminate what you know or what you think you have found to the farmers. So we do it in different forms.
Okay. So what are some of the ways that climate change is contributing to vector-borne diseases? How does it even contribute to malaria? Because we know malarias are mosquitoes and stagnant waters, right? But how, it seems it's an issue here too with the heat. Can you touch on that, please?
Yes, the climate change changes the temperature patterns, and that malaria, the mosquitoes require certain temperature to be able to multiply. So once they are around that temperature, then they multiply a lot.
Okay.
And then once they are within the system, they spread, they bite people, leading to infections, and they spread the malaria. So it has to do with the increase in the mosquito population due to climate change.
Okay.
And once they are also there, they are able to spread the disease.
So in this situation, do we need to go back to sending out the mosquito nets and things like that again?
We cannot abandon any intervention entirely.
Okay.
You cannot abandon any interventions entirely because they are also very important, especially to pregnant women, because we haven't been able to eliminate the mosquito that spread the malaria virus. So we have to blend all our interventions, put all the efforts together to be able to handle malaria effectively.
Okay. Prof, what is heat wave?
Heat wave is an increase in temperature within a particular period of time that has not, or is probably above what we can withstand at that time. So it's just an increase in temperature.
Okay. Are there diseases related to heat wave?
Yes.
Okay.
We have even malaria can be, but we have the CSM, cerebrospinal meningitis. We have heat rashes, and we have other even headaches and all those things that are related to heat.
Okay.
And so, even mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health is a heat related.
I can imagine, because if you're feeling hot, of course you'll be depressed, and then doomsday in addition.
Yeah.
Okay, so how we hear mostly about cerebrospinal meningitis, especially in the northern part of Ghana. Can you touch on how that works in this time of climate change or during the heat wave?
Yeah, it's a heat-related disease. So when the heat is, or when the weather is very hot, then people tend to get it, and it has to do with the amount of water in your system. Because when temperature is high, you dehydrate quickly. So if you don't take more water often, then you are susceptible to getting the CSM.
Okay. So is it also a pathogen, virus, or it is just something that develops within you when there's heat wave?
No, I think it's a virus that also spreads like malaria, but it can move from human being to human being.
Okay. So how do these temperatures affect the public health sector?
It all has to do with the burden, the health burden on the resident. Because if there's so much people having malaria, then they will have to procure more malaria drugs so that we can prevent people from dying. If there's too many people also with CSM, for instance, they have to also do same. Recently, there was a case in central region that the country had to focus. I think it was cholera or something.
Yeah.
And the country had to focus its attention on that. So a lot of drugs or medicines had to be procured to be able to contain that. So there are a lot of issues that it
So over the years, with the rise of climate change, have there been any new conditions emerging as a result?
There are always new conditions emerging. Okay, so we are getting different strains of certain diseases that are coming up that are attributed to climate change. So always we get different, and also those that we know also begin to expand their territories. So, yeah.
So, what are some of the measures that we can put in place to also help ourselves with, especially, I think even now we are experiencing some sort of heat wave, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you would advise that we can employ for ourselves?
One, drink a lot of water so that you keep yourself hydrated. Don't expose yourself to the sun so much. Don't also expose yourself to areas that you can easily be bitten by mosquitoes. Yeah. The other is wash. Make sure you clean yourself all the time when you get to certain areas, because cholera and all those other things, you can easily get them. So we should keep the basic sanitation and those protocols that we learned, especially through COVID. We should keep still practicing them.
Okay, so in some of the areas, like the areas that are affected by Galamsey, how then are they going to manage? How do you think they can manage their situation with some of these water scarcity issues, the heat wave, and even the Galamsey issue at large?
That has to take a lot of research because they have to do some research to see how the groundwater has been polluted, whether the groundwater has those heavy metals in them, and what quantity of those heavy metals are there, can human beings consume, because now they cannot easily use the surface water because it's already polluted. So they have to do that research. they have to also do some research probably on what are the things that we can use to probably extract the heavy metals from the water, so that if people are to use it, then we can manage those things, because they are causing a lot of health issues that I recently chanced across a story that said that there are a lot of health deformities that that they are attributing to the pollution of the area. So for now, we need to know whether we can dig boreholes, and if we can dig boreholes, then otherwise we look at areas that are nearby that are not polluted, then we ferry the water from that place to those people.
So with this climate change issue, are there demographics that are more vulnerable?
Yes. The elderly, and then pregnant women, and then children. These are people that are more vulnerable. Recently, there was a story about pregnant women dying because of the heat stress up north, or even they give birth and their children die because of the heat stress up north. So these are people that are more exposed to, or more vulnerable to.
How are the elderly vulnerable? They usually like to sit on the porch and collect some fresh air. So how are they vulnerable to these issues?
Their system is already compromised because of their age. They have a lot of health issues. So any little thing that comes their way, it triggers a lot of things. So their system is already, their immune system is already down. And that is where their vulnerability comes.
So how prepared do you think Ghana's healthcare system is to battle some of the impacts of climate change on our health?
I can't put a definite answer on that because I'm not
but you know, based on your assessments, do you think
looking at if I want to speak, I will look at the health facilities that we have. We are still not there that we can say we can completely manage climate-related issues, but there are a lot of improvements. We have had a lot of CHIPS compounds that have come up in certain communities that didn't have them, and they are able to manage malaria, CSM to some extent before they can refer to a health center or a hospital. We also have decentralized the district assemblies to smaller communities or smaller districts, where every district is supposed to have a hospital. And if all the districts have district hospital, then it also reduces or increases our
chances. So are there any initiatives that Ghana is employing or to be able to mitigate some of these challenges?
Well, yes. All the sector ministries have policies that they are employing. Recently, the president also had a minister in charge of climate change and sustainability, and they are supposed to work towards getting certain things done so that we can reduce the effect of climate change. We can also be able to develop sustainably so that we are able to. So there are so many interventions that are there. The tree planting thing that started way back. Some of them were geared towards improving this until we decided to let loose galamsey to destroy our gains.
So you didn't mention the disabled. Are they not also vulnerable?
They are, but The disabled they are, but also it depends, their vulnerability also depends on their level of disability.
Okay.
Okay, so they are, almost all of us are, just that our level of, our age, our exposure and all that, what do you call it?
Okay, so Joyce Anderson is asking, what are the specific health impacts of climate change on vulnerable populations in Ghana, especially children and the elderly, and what measures can be taken to protect them from heat-related and other climate-related health issues?
Yes, so they can, as I said, they can die from just heat. Okay. They can die from the CSM, they can die from malaria and all those things. So these are, and they easily get those things also. It may not kill you, but it may take you to the hospital. You lie in the hospital for some number of days or something before you come back. All those things affect your daily routines, your daily activities. You were going to work. Those number of days that you spend on the hospital, you are off work. If you were doing your own work, that means those days you don't get anything. If you were a government employed, that you could say, okay, you ask for sick leave, but those who are feeding themselves, working daily to feed themselves, when they go to the hospital, it affects their livelihood. Okay. So there are so many, there are things that are interrelated.
Okay, so as individuals, what are some of the things you would admonish our viewers watching to do to be able to also effect some change in their communities with regards to the heat and the climate change as a whole?
Yes. First is if they can plant trees, they should. Even if you are living in a compound, you have your compound, we should reduce tiling the floor and rather use more of the grass, and that can allow the water that comes to go into the soil than to run, because if it runs, it causes flooding that can bring about cholera and all those things. So if we do that, we reduce the amount of runoff. If we can also harvest the water in our homes, maybe for even bathing or for washing the gardens or for whatever, we can do that, and that will also reduce flooding. We can also ensure that our homes are well ventilated, because sometimes we think that we have a fan and therefore everything is closed. So that is the reason. So we can ensure that our homes are well ventilated to reduce the amount of heat in our rooms. So there are so many things that we can do as individuals to ensure that we live a healthy life.
Okay, so when I was reading a little on climate change, I saw something about the fact that even our animals, their waste also releases methane gas.
Yes.
So I think I would like you to touch on the gases. We did mention greenhouse gases earlier, but if you can touch on them for us so that we know what exactly we are dealing with.
Yes, so the major culprits are the carbon dioxide and then the methane.
Okay.
So the methane, as you said, the animal feces, and also the waste that we dump at waste dumping site also release methane. And so these are the major gas. There are other gases that are there. As I said earlier, water vapor is also considered a greenhouse gas. Okay, so all these things that trap heat in the atmosphere are the gases that
is there a way to turn some of these things around? Like, is there something we can do with regards to the fact that some of these gases are trapped in our atmosphere, bring it down to our use sort of thing? Something scientific?
Yes, we've been advocating for recycling, reuse, and reduce the use of certain waste material or certain materials so that we don't pollute the environment, because that is where, if we generate too much waste, we end up putting them at dumping sites, and those areas become areas that we generate carbon dioxide and methane. So if we reuse the things that we can reuse, or if we can recycle them, then all that can contribute to reducing these gases. The other thing is our use of motor vehicles. Some countries have moved away from the petrol, diesel dependent vehicles to electric vehicles. But I don't know how here in Ghana we'll be able, because we don't like small cars, and those cars are smaller cars. But we don't like small cars. We want big cars, so that when you are driving a big car, people will know that. So that is our thing. So if we are able to reduce the use of things, we'll reduce the release of carbon dioxide and those things into the atmosphere.
So I saw in my small research that the sea levels also rise when there's climate change. How does that even start to happen?
You see, the earth, some of the water on the Earth's surface is stored as glacier or ice. Now, when the temperature rises, these ice will melt. And when they melt, the water, they go into the sea. So the volume of water in the sea increases. And the sea cannot do anything but to let the water spread to wherever it can go. So that brings about the rising sea levels. So when the water rises, it goes into the areas that are low-lying. And those areas will contain it until when the temperature comes down, then the ice begin to form, then the others will go back. But now we have virtually used all these areas as human habitation. So when it comes, then it affects us.
Wow. So we have a few questions here. This one is from Kojo Nkrumah in Tesano. He says, can you discuss some of the water management strategies implemented in Ghana, such as the rainwater harvesting or improved irrigation techniques? I think we touched on that a little. Then there's this one from Mrs. Apia Kujo. She says, how does access to clean water impact public health in Ghana, particularly in the context of climate change?
So with clean water, if climate change, as I said, affects the availability of water. So if the water is not there and you are not able to get clean water, you resort to whatever you find. Now, certain parts of the country, they go to the riverside and they fetch. So they fetch it, they drink direct, or they put alum and all the alum will do is to just let the sediments settle, the suspended particles in the water to settle. But it doesn't clean it, and they drink. So if you are drinking such water systems, it will affect your health. So in areas that lack clean water, they have a lot of waterborne diseases.
So what are some of the more climate smart activities that farmers can undertake with regards to climate change?
So as I said earlier, we've talked about the irrigation, the drip irrigation, for instance, is an activity. Then we can also have the greenhouse kind of farming, where you can produce within an enclosed, controlled temperature setting. Okay. Then we can also talk about having to even grow crops in buckets or even fertilizer bags or something. People are now doing that within your house, and then you are able to do. So there are so many ways that we can do small place, but you can produce a lot of crops from that place.
Okay. So again, on the water issue, in a situation like somewhere up north where you mentioned that they can have these greenhouses, how are they going to be able to do something like that, especially with the quantity of water they have, which is quite scarce?
I think they have been they are being trained as to how to do that. But you need to locate if you want to do that, and you are in an area that there's no water. You need to locate a place that has water. If you cannot find, then that becomes a challenge. You have to probably talk to government or NGOs to come into your aid to construct a dam closer so you can use that. Okay. But agriculture cannot do without water. So,
like you even mentioned that some of these places are waterways where, when we were talking about the ice, the glaciers, where now they've been used as human settlements. Do waterways also cause some of these problems that we have at the moment, where people have built on places that should have been ways for water to pass?
Well, the major cause of that one is the flooding, because the water should have come to stay in that area. Now you have gone to either raise that area or to block it. So when water comes, it has to go for an alternative route to go to wherever it is going. Okay. So that is the major problem in those areas. So there is flooding. Many of those areas, whenever it rains, we see people's homes flooded and all those things. So that is the major problem with that. Now, for the sea rise, the water should have come and stay in those areas. So they serve like small soakaways, so that when the water level goes down, then slowly it is released to the basin. The other thing is that if it is the rivers that are coming, they come and the water stays around them, then it goes in. So if you take, for instance, the lagoons, the lagoons are supposed to take the water and release it slowly into the sea.
The sea again, okay.
Okay, but we have gone to fill the lagoons and we have built there. So when the water comes, where it's supposed to stay for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks and slowly go into the sea, it's not there. So it has to flood the area. So that is basically what happens when it comes to those.
So in this situation where the sea levels rise, is this where there's a need for the sea defense projects?
Well, the sea defense project has its ups and downs, because when you build a sea defense here, you think you are solving the problem there, but you are transferring the problem to another place.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
We've built sea defense at the east and the western coast. Okay, so we have blocked the water from coming inland in those areas. Now, what happens is that if the water comes and it hits and it cannot come, it has to find another place.
Okay.
So if it sees that this area, there's a low-lying area, to come there. Okay. So even though there was a sea defense at some parts of Keta recently, the water was able to rise above the sea defense. So instead of building sea defense, what people are advocating for is, the soft defense, by putting up something like mangroves.
Yes, okay.
Okay, in those areas, so that when the water comes, the mangroves, but they like water. So they will be able to.
Okay. So can they put up some sort of piping systems where when the sea levels rise, so it will be connected to the community, where when the sea levels rise, it will pass through and go so that the community can use the water?
Well, the sea water, because it's salty, we are not able to use it direct because of the
But can it be used for irrigation?
The salt.
Oh, okay. But what about the boiling to get the salt out and all those things?
The only way we are doing that is what we are doing at Adan, and then also here. But we can, that is what we call an engineering sort of work to do. Because if you go to the Netherlands, they have some of their areas, they have systems like that, when the water is coming, they are able to pump it into certain areas. And so they create things like what they call dunes, that they are able to soak some of the water in. But for us, the sea, we cannot use the sea water because of the salt. Most of our crops, which will not be able to survive salt, cannot grow in those areas.
Okay.
But we can use it for other purposes. To create areas that we can pump the water in there. We can use it as a recreational something.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm getting calls on our WhatsApp number. So I'm here to remind you that the WhatsApp number is for WhatsApp messages only. When the phone lines are open, I will do well to alert you. But for now, please send your messages to the number that you keep calling. Or you can send your comments to our YouTube and Facebook live stream, and then we'll read them out loud, or your questions as well. So, when you mentioned the lagoons, my mind came back to the Ramsar sites. It seems not a lot of knowledge has been dissipated about Ramsar sites. What role do they play in checking, climate change?
Well, as I said, they are when they say a Ramsar site, they are looking at the things that the place is made up of. The birds, the trees, and are they things that if they leave them, they will get extinct? And if they don't do anything about it. But beyond that, most of those places are lagoons. Okay? And as I said, the lagoons were supposed to retain the water that is coming from inland. Then slowly release them into the sea. But because of what we have done as human beings, we have gone to fill up those areas, and we have built, and that is what is causing the flooding. If it has to do with education, I doubt, because those who are building there are people who we should think they know better. Those who are building there, they are not. Some are even industries that are building in there and discharging their waste into the lagoons. So these are not people who will pretend that they don't know anything much about it. I keep telling myself, how come that our forefathers who came to settle in Accra here didn't go to those areas to settle? Is it that we want to say we have more power, or we have more money, or we have more knowledge?
Well, our numbers have also increased.
Yes, but there are so many ways that we could manage that increment. Okay? It's just because of the land tenure system that is affecting that, because we could have said that instead of building three-bedroom houses, we are rather going to build what?
Apartments.
Yes. And people building themselves, they should either go there and buy or rent. But the cost of buying or cost of rent is also too
it's also
prohibitive.
Too much.
So people are not able to look in that direction. And everybody, if I'm building and it's taking me 20 years to build, I will do it than to go and look for money to rent, and I can't survive. So these are some of the issues. So our land tenure system, our inability to buy homes, or this is due to our economic situation. These are all the contributory factors that lead to some of these things happening around those areas.
Okay.
The other thing is that lack of enforcement, or what we may say rezoning. Okay, Accra has undergone so many rezoning, said that areas that were supposed to be protected, that were green belts, that were green areas, have all gone, or are all gone. So it becomes, those areas would have been like cooling the system within Accra. Like,
okay.
Yeah, gone.
So what about waterlogged areas? Are they also supposed to be Ramsar sites, or are they supposed to be for farms, or are they places where water came to be for a bit?
And something to do with the soil.
Okay.
So if it rains and the soil is said that it doesn't allow water to seep into it easily, then the water will have to stay on the surface of the water. So that is waterlogging. But most of the waterlogging areas are also low-lying. So maybe rainfall, it runs from some other areas and then it comes to collect there. So that is to do with waterlogging. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Ramsar site.
Okay. So can these waterlogging used in a way to help with the water scarcity issue, where maybe like the engineering thing you mentioned, the water can be extracted and used in other areas?
It depends on the quantity that you are looking at in that area. If it's something that is not big enough, it cannot be used for anything. Okay. But yeah, it cannot be used for anything. But if it is for the local people within that area to use it to do some agriculture or something, they can just do some small farm on it and use it for irrigation. There are also some crops that do well in waterlogging areas, so they can, like rice, they can go in there and plant rice, and the rice will do and they harvest.
So in a waterlogged area, can a borehole be dug where it will direct the flow of the water beneath the soil into it, so that, because I think a lot of people tend to still build there, and then you see that these buildings have cracks or they are sort of wet at the base. Can something like boreholes or wells be dug where it would drain into?
Well, it's possible, but as to the cost, you get it. Yeah. Because if you are going to do it, you are looking at a large area, then you are going to fit in all the boreholes or whatever. Because you cannot just put one borehole and it will be able to collect all the water within that area into it. So it's the cost that will not make things like that.
Is this something that, under normal circumstances, should be feasible?
Well, that is what I'm saying. It's just the cost to be able to pipe the whole area with network of pipes to be able to collect that water and then get it to a particular main drain that will drain it into the sea. It's going to be a lot of money. So, but what do you call it? It's just the cost. Otherwise, there's nothing that is not possible. Once it's an engineering sort of thing, people can design a system for it.
Okay, so all too soon, our time is up, but I would like to take your closing remarks. What would you like to tell our viewers about climate change, water management, and even its impact on our health?
The only thing I can say is that climate change is real. We should not follow the people who tell us that climate change is not, or it is not done. And we should also have to believe that climate change is caused largely by us as human beings, and that we should be able to manage our life, our way of doing things that are related to climate change, so that we can reduce the impact. The other thing is that once it's something that we cannot control completely, then we have to learn to live with it. How do we learn to live with it? We have to change the way we do certain things so that we can live comfortably on the planet without having to suffer so much from it.
Thank you so much. This has been a very educative conversation, and I hope that you watching from the comforts of your home or from work, you also learned something today about climate change, and you're going to apply that in your life. And this brings us to the end of the Koko Digest Morning Show. I hope you learned something, and I want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined hands to make the show a success. We are most grateful, and we hope to see you bright and early on Thursday morning. Do have an amazing week ahead.
Clog TV, beyond the policy.